Hey guys, Scott here. Sorry if I'm a little tired and mumbly. I've been up since 6 a.m. Tried to do the first Dusk Bloods test and it just didn't work, so I'm very cranky and very tired. But there was a Discord stream from the devs going over what's going to be happening from PTB to live. So unfortunately, there's not like a VOD I can show you. It happened, and I'm just kind of piecing it together from screenshots as it happened to cover all of the basics. And they've done a number of very baffling and frankly, I think, very stupid changes. So let's go over some of the things that are not so bad. So first up, Nowhere to Hide being changed to now with the auras of survivors next to the generator, not to the killer. This means, like, Blight is not going to be able to kick a gen and carry his aura reading, 20 meters and then it expires. So that's a good thing. I think that's how Nowhere to Hide should work. It kind of equalizes good and bad killers, so that is a very good change. I'm happy with that one. Repressed Alliance is now going to be 15 seconds, not the 30 seconds, so that's actually better. It makes it so it's just short enough of time to where you don't lose a lot of progress not working on it, but it's long enough to where the killer's not going to waste time sitting next to the generator, so it actually ends up being better. Will it be used by anybody? Still probably not. I don't think we'll ever see anyone use this perk ever, but that's fine. Vigil got shot, revived, and then shot again just to feel the pain of suffering. So even on the initial rework of Vigil, it wasn't this bad, but now you lose exhausted 30% faster instead of 66%, and it's just exhausted. It's no longer every status effect in the game, it's just exhausted. So they double nerfed this. The classic behavior 2-tap took it out back and shot it. I can't imagine Vigil is going to be super useful anymore. I mean, 30% is still not, it's not terrible, but you're not going to be getting, your 25 or whatever second, I forget the cooldown, sprint bursts. Since sprint burst is also getting nerfed, sprint burst Vigil is getting nerfed. It's actually kind of a triple tap when you look at it that way, and it's only applying to exhaustion. So any killer perks that are going to apply exposed to you, any hinders, all that stuff is no longer affected by Vigil, which, to be fair, I think is a good thing. It's kind of stupid that you had a perk that's like, hey, this is the fuck Freddy perk. Like, it doesn't make any sense for a perk to just completely invalidate killer powers like that. So I'm actually okay with this. I think Vigil had its time in the sun for a bit too long. Let's let it rest after years of service to survivors. Normally, I'm not super supportive of, just killing perks so much to the point that they're not even worth running anymore. But like I said, Vigil is one of those perks that is just very frustrating to go against. It's been used for years and years, so I am fine with this change. So I understand people will be upset about that, but you got to realize it was kind of overtuned, and it really hampered killers for no reason in terms of their power. So it was very silly. So in terms of the judgment, they did a couple of changes that are fine, and then a lot of changes that are very stupid. So the exile phase, which is when you're in the celestial realm and those beams of light are hitting everywhere, they are going to be spawning a bit more now. You get more punished for hitting them, and there's less immunity once you've been hit by them. So they're basically making it more dangerous to be in there. Your hook timer is going to go down a bit more. I think it was 2 seconds before, now it's 3 seconds. Every time you get hit by a beam, you lose 3 seconds of your hook timer in there. So again, this is one of those changes I feel like that kind of just hurts newer players, and it doesn't really do much to good players. So I don't know. I don't really think this is going to do much of anything. The exile is just to get into your zealous form. That's the main positive of doing the whole exile thing. You skip having to walk to a hook, and you get this super powered form, which makes it super, super worth doing. However, it's not really worth it anymore, I think, but based on these descriptions and what I've seen. They have, I'll just blanket say, they have nerfed the shit out of this killer, who was already really hard to play. It seems like they're tripling down on making them even harder to play now. So again, I want to make it clear, I and people with a lot of hours in this game are probably still going to be okay playing this killer. We're going to be fine. But they have made this killer even less accessible now in terms of playing. In terms of playing against, they made it a lot easier, but so now there's visuals when the Divine Light is at its maximum range, which is fine. I'm okay with that. There's Killer Instinct when it puts a survivor into the dying state, which, I mean, you'll see their icon change and you'll hear the sound, so you'll know you hit anyway, but okay, cool. Killer Instinct when you barely miss a survivor, which is that add-on, which I'm fine with. Again, that's some very basic, minor, nice quality of life. Doesn't change much, but it's nice to have. Here's the big fat nerf. Increase the distance at which cast Divine Light is revealed to survivors. This is one of two things here. So the beam would render in at a certain distance And so survivors at, at long range had like a tiny window to react to it, but you did have time to react to it. If you're paying attention, you would see this beam moving towards you and you'd be able to get off a generator in time. No problem. Past a week, everyone would have figured out how to dodge these long-range shots. It's truly not that difficult. Now you can kind of just see the entire duration of the beam. So if you get hit by this, there is literally zero excuse. You're just sitting there watching a beam approach you, like that one scene in Austin Powers when the truck is just slowly approaching. It's just, there's basically no excuse to be getting hit at long range anymore. Now, I know why they did this. They wanted to make it so the totem build, which people are still going to do, and it's probably still going to be annoying because it doesn't change the fact that this will still interrupt people breaking totems. You'll just see it coming and not get hit, but you'll still have to get off the totem. So they didn't fix the problem. All they did was nerf the killer and not fix anything. So now we're just going to have a scenario where if people are running the annoying totem build, which again, I'm telling you will be very annoying on this killer, I'm dreading it, and they didn't adjust anything for that at all. So when people are running this annoying ass totem build on this killer and making him seem way more miserable to go against than he actually is, ruining it for everybody else, it's not going to do anything. They're still going to get you off the totem. You're just going to see it coming and not get hit by it. So they haven't addressed the issue with it, which is the killer can stall things out for a very long time, but all they've done is just make it easier to dodge actual regular long-range shots. So they've done nothing to address the issue, and all they've done is just make the killer weaker when this killer is already not super top tier. I mean, he's a good killer if you master him, but not super top tier, and like no one's going to be able to master this killer. So I truly don't know what the hell they were thinking with this, but the second change also makes no sense, because they nerfed the Zealous mode too. So now while Zealous, the curve window for Divine Light is a flat 0.3 seconds. So the curve window was when you're in this souped up mode, you could shoot at your power and very quickly, almost like a hillbilly's chainsaw curving right at the start, you could like flick it left to right and it'll go in that direction very, very quickly. It's very hard to control at long range, because if you move your mouse or, stick by a millimeter, it's like flying across the screen. So it's very, very hard to control that at long range. But it did add an element to where you could do some cool stuff with it. And that made it a bit harder to dodge, because now you could shoot it at a generator. Survivors will still see it, but you could kind of adjust it and predict where they're going to dodge into and perhaps actually hit them, which added a really cool skill component to it. Survivors got to read that you have to do that, so it adds a skill component in reading your opponent, stuff like that. It was just a very cool interaction that, was very hard to control, but was very useful when you mastered that. So now with it being a flat 0.3 seconds. So what he means by a flat 0.3 seconds there is the amount of control you had scaled with the amount you charged the power. The more you charged it, the less control you had when it actually shot off. Meaning, if you charged it for like 2 seconds and then shut it off, you could basically not control it at all. It would just go in a straight line. But if you just immediately tapped it, you would have control for it felt like maybe a second or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but you had control for a brief time. Now, by making it a flat 0.3 seconds, I'm not exactly sure. Technically, if you have an insanely high DPI mouse, you can still do the 180 tech where you shoot it away from you and immediately flick it back. But all that's done is made it basically impossible for console players to do it, because they're not going to be able to physically rotate their camera quick enough now. So they've just done the complete opposite thing of what they should be doing, where they're making it even less accessible to players and making it harder to play while nerfing a killer that didn't need to be nerfed. Just absolutely baffling design. Again, I'm still probably going to be fine with the killer, because I'm going to be trying to do those crazy like perpendicular shots and things like that, the really hard ones, and try to really master the killer. But it's so nonsensical that one of the complaints about this killer is that he's too hard to play, and they've just made him even harder to play now. It's almost like they're just like going, yeah, what now? Like, it just makes no fucking sense. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Absolutely fat L. They could not have done dumber things here. Again, DBD content creator, by the way, I need to call out when they do stupid things, and this is a very stupid decision that only serves to increase the skill floor even more on a killer that already has like the highest skill floor in the game. So I don't know who this killer is for, other than like me and content creators, which is just crazy. So I don't know. Very bad judgment changes. I'm not happy with really any of that at all. So they have gone over the fact that they are changing MMR as well. So it's kind of vague here what exactly is changing. But basically, they're just going back to the emblem system. If I had to simplify this, they're just doing the emblem system again. And they even mention the emblems category gives a good idea of what actions to do. So just going back to what we had like 6 years ago or something like that. Which, to be fair, I think the emblem system was a better system than the current MMR system we have now, in which it's solely based on escapes and kills. They just needed to refine the emblem system more. So then maybe this is them after 59 years, them actually doing that. It's still going to prioritize wait time over match accuracy, which I think is still, it's a necessary evil. It's overall a good thing. But at the end of the day, what this basically means is nothing's going to change. You're going to notice the exact same shit because wait time is preferred. And again, I think that's still good because wait time is preferred and they're just going back to this emblem thing again. You're not going to notice much of a change. The one thing that does concern me a bit is that it mentions that kills are not the only important thing for killer now. So actually getting hook states like the old, hook category for emblems is relevant now. So killers that are just trying to slug a bunch for their wins are probably not going to get as much MMR as killers that are getting multiple hooks per match. And these slugging killers are 10 times more miserable to go against. They will have lower MMR, and if the matchmaking works, that just means less experienced players will be going against the sweatiest shit, which creates this even more horrible dynamic. So that's got its own problems there. But really, I think this is a nothing burger. I think literally nothing is going to change. They're going to do this, and you're not even going to notice a difference. So they have mentioned that they're resetting MMR once this actually happens. So your first 10 to 15 games, you might honestly not notice a difference at all. But you might notice a bit more newer players than normal or something like that. But overall, I think as far as they don't tell us what's happening here, what's going on behind the scenes, this is sort of a nothing burger change that you're probably not even going to know even happened. So, that's good. It means the game's not going to get ruined or anything like that, but it also means nothing's really going to improve. So, overall, a couple of good changes here. Vigil nerf is great. They did mention that they're working on some crazy anti-cheat stuff too, some anti-cheat trials, which is great if they work and all that stuff. That's great. But the changes to Judgment are an absolute massive L. And as someone that was very excited about this killer, I'm very disappointed with their decisions on this. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.